Hey guys, how's it going? So today it's gorgeous. It's supposed to be 81 degrees. We've got some beautiful plants we're working with. We are going to be heading down to our local community college to start all of our planting projects down there. For those of you who are watching our videos about this time last year, you'll probably be familiar with all the areas we're planting. They've got a couple of large entryway flower beds where we want it to be just super striking and full. That's what we're working on today. And then they've got a whole bunch of in-ground planting around a large fountain in a courtyard area, a ton of containers, and then a few other random flower beds that we're going to be working in. So we're going to be doing this in several different videos because it's a lot of planting and we've got a lot of plants here. So I'm very excited to have them down there in the ground and not sitting in our driveway because can you see all those? Yeah. We're taking care of those right now until they make it down there. This project was such an amazing one last year. Great experience because they took such phenomenal care of the plants. There was a small crew of people. Rosa is the one that I know, but I know that there were a couple other people helping her out, but they babied these plants and they really just kept a great eye on things and took such great care of them. Anyway, it was so amazing. So like in the entryway beds last year, when we went to plant, it was kind of rough looking, honestly, because they hadn't mulched yet. They hadn't even installed the drip system yet. We planted purple fountain grass, plain the blue salvia, Suncredible sunflowers, Truffula pink gomphrena, Supertunia mini vista indigo. There was some sweet potato vine in there, probably like Supertunia vista fuchsia and vista bubblegum. It was a mix of beautiful stuff. So we planted it that first day and it was kind of like, well, a little bit of faith in planting because everything's small when you plant it and when it's in a vast area and these plants get very big, it doesn't look very full. But then we went back a couple of times later on down the season or later on down the road in the season and we showed you kind of a midway update, how things were doing and how they were filling in. And then by the end of the season, how much they had grown. And it was, oh my goodness, it was incredible. I did learn a lot though. I learned about how I would maybe place things a little bit different or things that maybe like the Truffula pink gomphrena couldn't really handle the amount of water that the rest of the plants needed. It wanted less water. So I was a little bit more mindful of the plant choices this year and hopefully everything comes out looking amazing. Just at a glance, you can see how gorgeous this is gonna be. I kind of tend to go toward cool colors because that's kind of what I like, but also they give a cooling effect to the eye. When you use cool color tones, when you live in a very hot, dry climate, they really do bring the temperature down just visually. So we've got cannas, salvia, Supertunia vista, jazzberry. We're going to be using a lot of that. Graceful grass is the skyrocket pennisetum rather than purple fountain grass. It's got more of a silvery white look. We've got sweet potato vine down here. We're going to have a couple of loads here. It doesn't all fit in the truck, but we've got blushing princess alyssum, and we've got a new superbena called Imperial Blue, which I'm using both at the college, in the ground, in containers, and in containers here at the house. I've also got a bunch of land and sea compost, Biotone starter fertilizer, and the auger. You can see that right up in there, I think. So we're basically just kind of getting everything together this morning, and my friend Amy is gonna come down and she's gonna help us plant this year, so you'll see her in and out of the video as well. Should be a fun day. Here we are, guys. This is the first area we're gonna plant. There's Rosa over there. She's pre-moistening soil for us. Isn't that awesome? So everyone is just kind of ready to roll. I just wanted to give you a look at this area and kind of remind you just of the space. We're dealing with, you know, the sign, so we can't plant anything that gets too tall to cover that. There are a bunch of beautiful rocks in here. We have a bunch of sunflowers coming up from last year's Suncredibles, I think. So we're gonna go through and pull all of those. There are some perennial mums in here, which were actually beautiful. We left them last year, and I'm glad we did because they just came up and bloomed with all of the other annuals that were in here, and they were really nice. So we'll just kind of make sure our plants go around those, but give them enough space to grow. The drip system, you can see all the tubing, so they'll remulch here fairly soon after we're done planting. But we've got this triangular shaped bed up here. And then we've got two pots. There's Amy and Aaron. We've got a pot there, and then the pot Rosa's working on, and then this giant area up front. So the goal when I'm designing this area, the same last year, was to choose plants that are high impact, that get big, so that we don't have to use, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of plants. I mean, we're using a lot of plants here today, but you know, if you choose things that stay a lot smaller, you're gonna need to use a lot more of them. So when you use things like a Supertunia vista that gets massive, you'll use one of those in place of like 6 regular petunias, or more, probably 6, 10 maybe. So anyway, that's the goal. So we are gonna go through, we're gonna weed out the sunflowers, we're gonna place our plants, then we'll aug all of our holes, do our fertilizer and compost, and then plant. So here we go. guys, we've got everything placed and we all worked up a pretty good sweat. It's warm out here this morning. But I want to show you how I have things laid out and then show you how I'm going to plant these before we kind of haul into the whole project. Look at this. It's going to be gorgeous, like fast. Realistically, you don't need to use this many plants because most of these will get large. But last year I didn't really plan enough, so I think I kind of knee-jerked a little bit. I didn't plan enough for the front right here. And I had to raid my stash for other projects we had going on, so I kind of went a little bit maybe overkill on the amount that I planned here, but it's going to be so pretty, and I'm just going to go with it. In fact, we actually have plants left over. I didn't use everything I had sketched into the plan. Back here in the triangle, the layout is the skyrocket pennisetums in the back. We've got a pocket of Playing the Blues here in the center. I think I'm going to take the geraniums out. I mean, I just don't think that they will compete with the vigor of the Playing the Blues and the Supertunias and Potato Vine. I think that might be overkill, and we can use those somewhere else. I think that might be a better use of them now that I kind of stand back and take a look at it. They are gorgeous together, and they do bring a bright pop of color, but I just don't know. If they were bigger to start out with, maybe they could stand a chance, but these grow fast. In fact, what I'll do is probably pull some of those geraniums and use them in this container, because I only slated 3 to go around the skyrocket pennisetum, and I think we could use 6 because these are quite large. And then we've got a mixture of kind of the same plants in here. It's just a lot of repeats, which means a striking display. And then in the large area here, I started with the grasses first, which I kind of put in little bunches. So there's a grouping of 3, and then just a single right here. Then back over here, another grouping of 3 kind of tucked behind this rock. And then there's a grouping of 3 over there. So we've got the interest spread throughout. And then we've got groupings of cannas, which those and the grasses will probably be close to the same height, but very different in texture. So those will make up our whole backdrop through this whole area. It's gonna be so awesome. Next layer down, Playing the Blue Salvia, kind of running through the center here. And then we've got all of our lower plants. So our Supertunia Vista Jazzberry, Superbena Imperial Blue, the Blushing Princess Lobularia, Sweet Caroline, Sweet Heart Lime, Sweet Potato Vine. Okay, so now let me show you how we plant these. Okay, so we've got our auger here. This is I think a 3-inch diameter. It's 36 inches long, so that means we don't have to bend over. So awesome. So what we do after we place is I go along and just gently tap the can like that, and then we make our hole. A little bit deeper. A little bit rockier here than at home. And then what we'll do, so we'll go through and do all the holes first, so it'll look like a complete mess for a little bit. And then we'll go along with the biotone. We'll sprinkle a little bit in each hole, not usually that cleanly, because we'll just kind of spread it through the whole area. And then we also use a little bit of land and sea compost. This helps with our high pH soil. It's a little bit more of an acidic based compost, so it really does good things for our plants. We take the plant out of the container. If they're looking a tiny bit root bound, we fluff the roots just a little bit, but not a lot. They'll work their way out of that. And then we just pop it down in the hole, tamp it in, like that. So now we gotta do that a couple hundred times. First bed is done, and boy, it's nice to have help. Amy and Rosa both helped with the planting and digging and all of that. So yeah, way faster than last year. And Rosa's already started watering everything in because there needs to be some work done on the drip system. We noticed a few areas where it's been cut or, you know, things like that. And that's kind of typical. Every spring you kind of have to go through and refine the system, make sure it's all a go. So it'll be hand watering here for just a little while until that can be addressed. And then the mulch will go on top of all the drip tubing. So it will look so tidy and beautiful. And oh my goodness, this is just going to be so fun to give you guys updates on. And I am glad that we removed the geraniums. So if we come up this direction, I left my root ball right there. So I had the geraniums right here, but I just think those playing the blues are going to get so big, and these grow so quickly that they would just gobble those up. So much better, and a little bit more breathing space for the plants in there. I missed a tag too, my word. And here's the side view. All those colors together are going to be so pretty. And I'm not so sure that we didn't sneak a yellow one in here. See how the buds on the coral cannas are dark? I don't think that's a coral one. I think that one might be yellow. So it would be the one oddball in this area. And then the container right here. So we did utilize some of those extra geraniums in here. So instead of the 3, there are 6 surrounding the Skyrocket Pennisetum, 3 Superbena Imperial Blue, 1 Supertunia Vista Jazzberry, 1 Sweet Caroline Sweetheart Lime Potato Vine, and the Blushing Princess Lobularia. Okay, so now we've got to go load up for round 2. We're going to do another entry flower bed with the same type of plants. It's much smaller though, so it'll be much quicker. Planting area number 2. So you can see that it's quite a bit smaller than the front entrance, so this won't take near as long. If you remember us planting back here last year, they did have 2 pines. So there was a pine right here and a pine right here. This one was, I think, almost dead. This one, I can't remember the state of it, but they decided just to clear out the whole space so that it could just be full of beautiful, colorful annuals, which I think was a good move. So right up here, this planting area is different than the one up front in that it's a half circle instead of a triangle. It's also not as deep. So the other one, like the sign, is much higher from the planting area, so we have to be mindful. Last year I had purple fountain grass in this bed. It did barely start to cover up the sign on the bottom, and the Skyrocket doesn't grow quite as tall in my experience, so we're just gonna see how that does. We've got pots that flank, so that one there and this one here, and they're actually both empty, so Amy just ran to the house to get some potting soil to fill those up. And boy, is it nice having her help today. Oh, it's going so fast. I did ask her if I could introduce her on camera, and she was kind of like, nah, so totally fine. And here are the plants. So a repeat of what we did up front, but just in smaller quantities. I did want to show you how I sketch it out because it's super professional. On spiral bound note paper here, grid paper. So this is this bed here, and then I just break it down by areas. So this is the pot, these are the pots, whoops, the front area, and then the raised bed right below the sign. And then if I flip the page to this one, oh, thank you. This is the one we just did. So I'll get kind of close there on it. See how professional that is and easy to follow? If I would have known other people were going to be looking at this today, I probably would have tried to be a little bit more neat. Okay, same order right here. We're going to line everything out, dig the holes, biotone, land and seed, plant them. Rose is going to come by and water them, and we'll be done for the day. All right, guys, we are all done. It looks so great. I got nice and dirty. I tried to wipe as much of it off my face as I could, but I'm just thrilled with all these plants. And there's Rosa watering them in right now, and they're looking awesome. So I did it a little bit differently, not a ton, but back here in this raised bed, I decided not to use the grasses. I just figured, you know, the play in the blues itself will get up this tall at least. So it just eliminated that back row, which honestly gave more room for the plain the blue salvia. And then I added some blushing princess lobularia up here just for a bright pop of color. So I think that'll be a really nice blend. And then in the containers, exactly the same as the front ones. So the Skyrocket Pennisetum, 6 coral geraniums. These are Americana coral. I don't know if I said that before. And then the mixture of other things around the outside, just like the ones up front. And then the interesting part about this bed is that it's not centered. You can see that this side, there's more planting area to the right of this light, which, you know, you kind of want to center your plantings in this bed with the big sign, not necessarily like right here. I think that would look odd. And the reason for that is because there is a stop sign here. So everything was kind of scooted over. So it's not a big deal. We just used a little bit more cannas on this side than on that side, but the whole area will marry together. And this one's also a little different in that you can see it from both sides because there is a sidewalk that goes through right there. So we've got low stuff on either side. If we look this direction, you can see kind of right in the center, we have the cannas. I've got 3 groupings of 3 grasses. So there's a grouping right here, a grouping right in front of the light, and a grouping right there behind Rosa. And then there's plain the blue salvia kind of ringing all of that all the way around. And then we just use a mixture of all the other things minus the superbena. I did not use the blue superbena up here because I used a ton of plain the blues. And I just thought it might become a little unnecessary because all these other plants will grow and fill in quite a lot. And that is going to do it for today's projects down here at the community college. We will be back down here later this week to pick up where we left off and do some other really fun plantings. I'm really excited for the area, in particular around the fountain, because we have a ton of cannas to use and a ton of other things. It's going to be bright and bold, and I think it's going to be wonderful and colorful. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. We will update you on these planting beds just like we did last year throughout the season. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.